Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Scabbard. Tonight is game night versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hopefully, this game goes a lot better than the Pittsburgh game a couple weeks ago. We played them on Veterans Day, and that ended up being a 4-0 shutout at the hands of the Penguins. So, for this, I think it's like the second or third time we played a team for the second time this season, and see if the results are any better. Did go well against the Islanders. We did learn from our mistakes of the first game against the Islanders and skated away with a victory. This game against the Penguins, they're gonna have to bring their A game because they've got a really good lineup coming out tonight. So we'll check that out here in a minute. But let's go to stat of the night. It's a very exciting news as Zach Benson will be playing his 10th game tonight. So number 10 is the stat of the night. This kicks in year one of his rookie contract, which means um, this. So a lot of people are saying, well, the Sabres are not going to send Zach Benson down now that he's played 10 games. You can still send him down to the minors. Or not the minors, but you can send him down to Canadian Junior Hockey League, Western Hockey League. Wenatchee Wild is who owns his rights, and uh, all that does is that year one of his 3-year rookie contract is going to just pay out, and he'll be a year closer to getting his first real contract. He's still going to be tied to the club. It's not a free agent contract. He'll be a restricted free agent at that point, but that's what that means. So he'll have, hey Jasper, how you doing, sir? Thanks for joining us tonight. Um, so he'll be in the lineup tonight, um, and we'll talk about the Caps game. So Caps game again, we went with the 11-7 in the game. I'm not a fan of that. I've voiced my displeasure for that. It sounds like we're going to go 11-7 again tonight, which to me is inexcusable. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought the Sabres did play well throughout the night. They had some good puck movement. They were really good in the face-off circle in the first two periods of that game. I think at one point, yeah, they're well. I mean, we got the win against Chicago, who beat the Maple Leafs today, which is kind of funny. But your Bruins didn't have a as good a game tonight today as they normally do. I guess, they better hope they don't play the Red Wings in the playoffs this year because that's turned out to be kind of a mismatch this season so far. But yeah, so there have been. I thought they played well, but there have been some holes in Devin Levi's game that are really starting to show, and I think it's because Devin Levi is so aggressive. Um, so let's take for instance the game tying goal that TJ Oshie scored, tied it at 2-2. I'm not going to blame him for the first goal. That bounced off like two or three people before it got to the goal. Um, the Oshie goal was really poor rebound control, and he was out of position in the net, like, he was sliding out, and Oshie had, 90% of the net to shoot at. Um, you gotta be able to control that rebound. It was right at his glove. Should have controlled the rebound. It pops out right to Oshie. Oshie just banks it in. Um, the, uh, the game-winning goal in overtime, again, he was out of position, he was cheating, and to me, when a goaltender starts to cheat on a play and starts to play the pass, they don't trust the defenseman in front of him, which is, I get that, knowing the Sabres goalies the last few years, it's not a surprise that people are, or that a goalie might be distrustful of the Sabres defense, but, the defenseman, I think it was Owen Power, played it perfectly. He was playing the pass. So he didn't trust that Owen was gonna stop that pass from him coming across, so he started cheating over, and he was really leaning over, and, Dylan Strome, who is the team's leading goal scorer, pops it in short side. So his aggression, I think, is being used against him at this point. Um, I'm not a fan of this whole 3 goalie system that they're playing right now. Um, uh 'Cause I don't think that Devin Levi is being served by it at all. He is, He's dressing every 3rd game, and backing up. He's playing every 3rd game, and then he's in the press box every 3rd game. That doesn't serve a young goaltender at all well. Send him down to Rochester. Let him work on the kinks of his game so, if he does, continue to be aggressive, it's not gonna cost you 2 points in the standing in the National Hockey League. Yeah, it sucks for the Rochester Americans, but remember, we're here for the Buffalo Sabres, and the Rochester Americans are here to serve the Buffalo Sabres and give them prospects and people to play. Um, and I think getting Devin Levi, having him be the number 1 goaltender down in Rochester, giving him the majority of the starts is going to help him get to his game faster as a professional rather than, doing this really weird rotation thing. Because I don't think it serves any one of the 3 goaltenders well. I posted a story in the Buffalo Sabres Mafia group today that it was a story in The Athletic about Mika Noranen, former goaltender for the Buffalo Sabres, who was left to kind of languish in a situation when Ryan Miller was really developing his game and coming up with Martin Biron as the backup. um, Noren really kind of floundered with the Sabres, and they waited to trade him until they got this really perfect deal. And then still, they only got like a second round pick for a guy who had been their 2-time uh, prospect of the year. And he played like a handful of games for the Vancouver Canucks, who traded for him, and he was out of the NHL. Norman should have had a much longer career in the NHL, even if it wasn't with Buffalo. It was, it could have been with somebody else, but the Sabres kind of botched that situation. And there's a danger that they're going to botch it with one of these guys if they don't get these guys some balanced playing time. Have a 1 and 1A in Buffalo and have Devin Levi being your starter down in Rochester. It just makes sense to let the guy develop his game in Rochester. I just don't understand why they're so reticent about setting him down. Because honestly, if you're afraid of how he's going to react to being sent down, then this guy, I mean, you're gonna have to be honest with yourself that this guy's not the long term solution. Because if he's, the psyche is that fragile that they can't take the, momentary disappointment of being sent down, then that's a big tell as far as what his psyche is going to be like whenever he faces adversity at the NHL level, whether it's in a regular season game or even playoffs. So let's get Levi a healthy amount of starts and work on his game so that when he comes back up to the NHL, he is going to be a quality netminder that can carry this team. Um, but that's what I'm gonna say about that. As for the 11-7, it all stems off of this 3 goalie rotation. We're only able to keep a couple of players on the roster that aren't playing, or one other player on the roster that's not playing. That's generally Jacob Bryson. Um, 'Cause right now we're playing 7 defensemen. It would be either, if you've played a normal roster, right now we've got, I think Peyton Krebs would probably be the guy that gets scratched tonight, to do the 11-7. So you're gonna have a couple players, off the roster that are gonna be sitting in the press box tonight. We've got our, of course, our IR scratches, but our healthy scratches. But you know, Granado said that he'd like to go 12-6, but he's probably gonna go 11-7 tonight because of the forward ranks are not quite healthy. It's like in a one-off situation where there is an injury, like earlier this season with Toronto, where they brought up Ryan Johnson, that makes sense. On a one-off situation where you have a last-minute injury, you need to bring somebody in. Doing 11-7 is fine that way, but when you keep doing it and you've got a 74 miles between Rochester and Buffalo, you could you could actually send Devin Levi down as a paper transaction where he actually never leaves Buffalo, never leaves the building, but he's sent down so you can open up a roster spot to bring up a forward, and we've got a bevy of forwards sitting in Rochester ready to go. We've got Brandon Byro, we got Luka Rusek, you got guys who haven't had the chance like Yuri Kulik and Isaac Rosen. Like, we've got the resources to actually field a normal lineup, but you continue to insist on one having a 3-man rotation on your goaltending. and then to do this weird 11-7 thing, where I don't know if you're afraid to have a conversation with one of your defensemen saying, "Look, I got 7 defensemen. I gotta have one of you guys sit." Whether you have that conversation with Ryan Johnson, who's the young guy, who I think has played phenomenally, or whether you have it with a veteran like either Eric Johnson or Connor Clifton. I don't know. Maybe Henry Jokiharju. I don't know. I mean, I just you got to have that conversation, no? Because if you're going to carry 8 defensemen on your roster and then be forced to play 11-7 because you don't have a qualifying forward to play, although which is not true because you've got Peyton Krebs. Yeah, his game hasn't been perfect, but I still would rather have Krebs in the lineup playing a 12-6 rather than 11-7. This has really soured me on Don Granado this season so far. Like, I just don't. I think they're trying to manipulate this roster so hard right now, and the team is just it's paying for it by pissing away points. Um, yeah, Jasper, switching the goaltender won't help any of the three tenders. Absolutely, it will not help the three goaltenders. It's hard for a guy who like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's actually played really well, to get rhythm by starting only one every three. It doesn't help a guy like Eric Comrie, who's coming back from a little bit of an injury to get back into game playing shape. To you could have used a injury rehab assignment for him down in Rochester for a little bit of time, but now he's started. Can't do that. It just makes sense to get the young kid who's still got some holes in his game. He's got the worst numbers of all three goaltenders at this point. Get him down to Rochester, work on his game, and let him be the number one, and let him get lots of playing time. That's the best thing about Rochester is you can play him down there all you want. At least you don't want to play him every night and get him injured or anything, but you're going to play him all you want. Be able to work on things and not have to worry about. Well, if I play him tonight, we might lose 2 points in the standings in the NHL where we're trying to make the playoffs. So that's I guess my soapbox. I try not to make this show a hot take um, show. I hate hot take shows. I hate screaming about stuff, but it is very frustrating watching them make the same mistake over and over again when there is like logical avenues of addressing this team and the team needs and not doing these weird almost yoga like poses trying to get everything to fit into this roster. So, but let's focus on tonight's game. It's interesting being on at 5 o'clock. Used to being on at 6 or 6:30, but with the holiday being yesterday and a lot of early hockey games. In fact, there are a ton of early hockey games today. I'll go over some of the scores here. So the Red Wings beat the Bruins 5-2 in Boston. Red Wings are the only team that have beaten Boston in regulation. Boston does have 3 overtime losses, but yeah, in regulation, 2 losses, both to the Red Wings. Still, they're miles ahead of everybody in the Atlantic Division. So, not worried about the Bruins at all. The Philadelphia Flyers fell to the Rangers 3-1. And the Chicago Blackhawks, as I mentioned earlier, the Blackhawks beat the Maple Leafs 4-3 in overtime. Jason Dickinson got a hat trick in regulation, and then Kevin Korchinski, a defenseman, got the game-winning goal in the extra frame. The extra frame featured, I believe it was William Nylander, who's on a long, massive point streak, what I think ended today, um, uh, hitting both bars, both posts and the crossbar on the same shot. I've never seen anything quite like that. It was like plink off the bar, or plink off the post, plink off the bar, plink off the other post, and stayed out during the overtime. So, um, the Leafs were very close to winning that game, but they get the point. The Blackhawks get the 2 points, their second win of the season at home. Hey, Buffalo beat the Blackhawks, and Buffalo's beaten the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. So good stuff. I always love when the Maple Leafs lose. Currently going on, we've got yeah, just a ton of games going on. The Capitals, who we lost to in overtime, what happened because the Edmonton Oilers are taking a season's worth of frustration out on the Washington Capitals. Um, the Sabres should have won that Capitals game. We let Tom Wilson score with 3 minutes left and then lose it in overtime. Yeah, they're getting a break dropped on them tonight. It's 5-0 in the about 5 minutes into the third period. The Predators are doing even worse to the St. Louis Blues. It's 7-3 early in the third period as well. Actually, halfway through the third period um, in St. Louis, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets rising and trying to get their second straight win of the first time getting a 2-game winning streak. They're playing the New Jersey Devils. They're leading 2-1, and they are about 8 minutes left in the third period. Two more games going on as well. The Kings and Ducks are out in this game's in Anaheim. The Kings are leading 4-1, and the Canadians and Sharks are playing. The Sharks are leading the Canadians 2-0 in San Jose. 4:21 left in the second period. So the rest of the night, it's a full night of hockey. So having to go through last night, eating all your turkey and just being able to watch football. Now you got everything tonight. You got football, basketball, baseball. Well, not baseball, but football, basketball. Yeah, I'm sure you can find highlight out there. Everything's going. So, ton of games going on after the Sabres start at 6 o'clock. You got the Lightning and Hurricanes at 8 o'clock. The Jets and Panthers at 8 o'clock. The Flames and Stars at 8:30. The Avalanche and Wild at 8:30 as well. 10 o'clock Eastern. All these times are Eastern. The final game of the night is the Canucks in Seattle to take on the Kraken. So, um, interesting night of hockey. Lots of games already going on. And of course, our game starts here at 6 p.m. Eastern in about 40 minutes, 42 minutes now. So, let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are 9-9-0. Last time we saw them, they were around the same level. They're sixth in the Metro. They were around 500 when we saw them. They're sixth in the Metro. They had won 5 games in a row, including the Buffalo game where they were shut out. Sabres were shut out 4-0. Looked awful. The Pens have dropped 3 of 4, so they've kind of cooled off. Although their one win was a very nice 3-0 shutout of the Vegas Golden Knights. Sidney Crosby leads the team in goals and points. Not a surprise. Jake Gensel leads in assists. Again, not a surprise for that team. Their goaltending is solid. But it's a really weird situation with the Pittsburgh Penguins because it's um, either either they get a shutout or the other team's going to win. It feels like because 5 of their victories this season are by shutout, um, and they're not scoring a whole lot of goals. They had one game where they dropped a brick on the San Jose Sharks, 10-2. If you factor those 10 goals out of their scoring, they're scoring about 2.66 goals per game, um, uh, which is still good. I mean, but their goaltending is 9.22 save percentage and a 2.46 goals against average, and that's combined Nedeljkovic and Tristan Jari, and then there was a third guy that came in for a little bit when Nedeljkovic was injured. Penn's projected forward lines from Daily Faceoff. We got Gensel, Crosby, and Drew O'Connor. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Drew O'Connor lit us up in the preseason. He scored. I said, "Watch out for Drew O'Connor." In the first meeting, Drew O'Connor scored his first goal of the season against the Sabres. Hadn't scored in his first, like 10 or 12 games of the season, and Potts won against the Sabres. Now he's on the first line. Then you got Riley Smith, Evgeny Malkin, and former Sabres prospect. Did he ever get a game in Buffalo? I think he might have had one or two. But Alexander Nylander, we got Henry Yoki Haru for. Is with the Penguins and playing on the second line with Malkin and Smith. Again, former Sabre alert. These guys tend to score on us, so keep a lookout on William Nylander. But also Malkin and Crosby are the two, have the are 1 and 2 when it comes to career points against the Sabres, um, which is just wrong. I mean, to me, it's just wrong because We're not even in the same division. We don't play them as much as we do, say, somebody from Boston or somebody from Toronto. But it also speaks to their longevity. But they do roast us every time we play them. This lineup is loaded with guys that can beat us. Radim Zahorna, Lars Eller, and former Sabre alert again, Vinny Hinostroza is up with the big club, playing in that third line. Matt Nieto, Nola Chardy, and Jeff Carter round out the top 12 for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Our defensive pairings: Ryan Graves, Chris Letang, Pedersen, and Carlson, the Swedish pair on the second pairing, and Shea and Lodvig on the third pairing. Penn's goalies. We're getting the backup, and people would say, "Well, that's a benefit." But Alex Nedeljkovic has got the best numbers out of the goaltenders, so may not be the best thing for us. But we get Ned tonight in net over Tristan Jarry. Although Tristan Jarry shut us out the last time, so curious that they didn't play him. But I do believe the Pens play tomorrow night, so probably saving Jarry for that game. Penn scratches tonight. Ricard Raquel's on the IR, as is former Sabre Chad Ruedel. And Brian Rust is getting close, but he's still out for tonight's game, so we won't see him, which is good. That's why you got Drew O'Connor on that first line. Sabres forward lines tonight. There's a lot of swirl. They said a forward was injured, which is why they're talking about 11-7. I'm kind of going with the lines as indicated on Daily Face Off and by Lance Lasowski, saying that it's going to be 11-7. This is what was last game: Skinner, Cousins, Tuck, Benson, Middlestat, Paterka, Greenway, Jost, Olafson, and then Gergens and Zakposo. And with an 11-7, it's kind of a floating thing. These lines may not be very static. You're going to see, Gergens and Zakposo floating up, playing with Jost, or playing with Middlestat or Cousins, and other forwards moving in and out of different line pairings. The defensive pairings are going to be, again, it's fluid with an 11-7. The defense has been playing Darlene Johnson, Power, Yoki Haru, Clifton, Eric Johnson, and Samuelson. Again, they'll be floating up and down. You'll see Samuelson with Darlene a lot. You'll see Johnson with Darlene. You see Johnson with Power. Yoki Haru with Power, and Yoki Haru with Darlene. Um, again, I'm just not a fan of all that. Starting goaltender for tonight for the Sabres is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, having a really good season. I think a really solid season in nets, although he did have a tough outing against the Penguins first time around. Had that weird goal going off his helmet from Malkin to start the scoring. But the team just did not do him any favors in that game, and looked kind of lost. The scratches tonight, we've got Comrie as the healthy scratch. Again, we could have paper sent down Devin Levi. Would you actually just go through the motions of sending Devin Levi down, submitting the paperwork, and then not letting him go, just letting him stay in Buffalo to watch the game as as a scratch, and then having Comrie back up. And that way you'd be able to call up a forward, not have to play 11-7. But Comrie is going to be the healthy scratch so that Levi can sit on the bench for no reason. Tage Thompson, of course, is on IR. Bryson is a healthy scratch. And then Jack Quinn, long-term IR, but skating now. I expect to see him before the end of December. Which, when Thompson and Quinn come back, it's going to be some interesting conversations, which I think the Sabres they need to start having now. I don't want them to start, doing these roster machinations to keep guys like Olafson and Krebs, or you know Jost, or somebody up that they're not gonna have any, at least long term within this season, plans for. So they're gonna have to start moving some pieces around, whether it's promotions and demotions and trades. They've got to do something with this roster. All right, tonight's odds: the Buffalo Sabres are a home dog in this game a goal and they're getting a goal and a half. If Pittsburgh wins by 1, you still win money. If you take Buffalo, and the over under is 6.5 for this game. So any goals total above 7 will win you the over. Anything below 7, 6 and below will be the under. So our player profile tonight is Rasmus Dahlin. Rasmus has been carrying the team the last few days since the Thompson injury has really kind of thrown the team on his back. Has been playing monster minutes and playing monster hockey right now. Right now, he is the team leader in points with 16 points, 4 goals, 12 assists. Or not the team leader in points, but the defensive leader in points. I believe his 12 assists are the top. Oh yeah, he is the team leader in points. It's 16 points. 12 assists is the team lead in uh, assists, and then JJ Peterka is the um, goal leader for the team, tied with Skinner at 8 goals so far this season. But Rasmus Dahlin, as we all know, was the first overall pick in the first round of the 2018 NHL draft, and I've heard news or hockey pundits talking this week about if you had to do the NHL draft of 2018 all over again, would you take Luke Hughes or Rasmus Dahlin number one? I don't know how you can ask that. Luke Hughes has had a good season for the Vancouver Canucks, undeniable, great season for the Canucks. But he's only done it 1 year, or not even a quarter of the year, or barely at the quarter pole of the season. Rasmus Dahlin has been really good. He had one off season during the Kruger administration, where pretty much everybody on the team had a bad season. He only had 23 points in 56 games in that 2021 season. Um, but he's been above 40 points every other season in the NHL. 44 points, 40 points, 53 points, and 73 points last season. At this point, 16 points in 19 games. He's gonna be right around that 73, maybe even higher total, especially if he keeps playing like he's been playing the last few games, um, and really embracing that leadership role of the team. Because yeah, he's really thrown this team on his back. Darlene is a 6'3" defenseman, and I didn't really think every time I saw him like before the lockout, I always thought he was kind of a smaller dude. Of course, he was 18, 19 years old. He hadn't quite filled his frame in, but after the lockout and after getting some development in a couple of off seasons, he's really filled out and he's a solid dude and can throw the body around. There was that check on Brad Marchand, that reverse hit that he threw on Brad Marchand. He's thrown some bangers this season, but that one against Marchand is probably my favorite so far this season. Um, but yeah, he's 202 pounds listed here. Um, left shot defenseman. Started his career with Frölunda Hockey Club in the Swedish. Linköping was his first kind of professional junior team, Division Three. Played with Frölunda HC and J20 and the Swedish Hockey League before getting drafted and coming over to play for Buffalo in the 2019 season. So he's had some good success in his the Champions Hockey League. The Frölunda team won the Champions Hockey League, which is kind of like the UEFA Championship in hockey in Europe. Um, he won a silver medal with the World Junior Championship in 2018 with the Swedes, with 6 assists in 7 games. Uh, we know what we got with Rasmus Dahlin. He's a solid defender. He's really kind of coming into his own, and we've got him locked up for a long time, which is great. I'm glad they got that deal done in the offseason. He signed an 8-year, $88 million contract extension with the Sabres that does not kick in until July 1st of next year. So, this is the last year of his, kind of rookie contract type deal. This is going to be kicking into his new contract that bridges him out. At the end of 8 years, he'll be a free agent. And I'm very happy about that deal. It's a good value. I know a lot of people complained about that, but I think for the type of defenseman Rasmus Dahlin is and what he can be, I think it's well worth the money. All right, 3 keys to the game. Do not repeat the mistakes of the first meeting. There were lots of mistakes in that first meeting. They didn't come out ready to go at all. They looked slow. They couldn't complete passes. They looked like they didn't want to be there. So whatever you did before that game, whatever you ate, I don't care what it was, don't do that. Um, do something different. Break that mantra. The second thing, watch Drew O'Connor. I said it last time. Y'all didn't do it. He scored his first goal of the season, and he has scored. I think that was his fourth goal against the Sabres in when you combine preseason in 3 meetings. So yeah, stop it, and then find your next level. Rasmus Dahlin has, but some of those players. That we would count on when Tage Thompson goes down have not. I would say that Tuck has. Um, Dylan Cousins did have a better game against the Washington Capitals, and good news for Dylan Cousins is that the mask has come off. He's no longer wearing the shield. Um, you could tell that he was having problems getting that puck, especially if he got towards his feet. He missed a few passes or was not able to get a good clean shot off. Um, but I expect him to really start picking up his game. And Casey Middlestat has had some really rough games the last couple of outings. I don't know if he's got a bad batch of sticks, but it seems like that puck is just exploding off of his stick every time it hits it. He gets a pass and he just can't control it for anything. So um, those 2 guys really need to find their next level and bring their A game tonight, for the Sabres to have a chance to win this game 'cause, anything less and the likes of Crosby, Malkin, will eat them alive. All right, on this date, on November 24th, 1986, kind of a sad date, although, for the future, it actually had, some other impacts. Gilbert Perreault announced his retirement from the game. And in turn, the Sabres named Lindy Ruff the next captain of the Sabres that same day. So Lindy, of course, goes on to play a few more seasons with the Sabres, gets traded off to the Rangers, retires, and becomes a coach for the assistant coach for the Florida Panthers in their '96 Magical Cup run. The issue with Ted Nolan and how he got did dirty by the Sabres management led to coaching vacancy, and Lindy Ruff then gets the coaching job and doesn't leave for like what almost 20 years. It felt like. Um, but Lindy's still doing his thing and still being a great coach. All right, our farm report. Let's go to Rochester, where the Americans are 9-4-2 on the season, second in the AHL North. They beat Laval, which is Montreal's top farm club, 4-3 in overtime on Wednesday night. They host them again tonight. Yuri Kulik had the game winner. Brandon Byro had a goal and an assist in that game. Um, Either one of those guys could have been called up to play tonight, so you don't have to do 11-7. I'm going to harp on that forever until they stop doing it. All right. Also on the farm, going in the opposite direction are the Jacksonville Icemen. They are 5-6-2 and sixth in the Eastern Conference, South Division of the ECHL. They were shut out by South Carolina, which is Washington's top farm club, 4-0 on Wednesday. They play Florida Everblades, which is probably one of the better nicknames in the AHL or the ECHL. Florida Everblades, which are the Florida Panthers, which makes sense. Top or I'm sorry, not top farm club, but the ECHL farm club. Second tier farm club is the Florida Everblades. That is it for this evening. I know that we're getting close to time, actually overtime, 4 minutes. Thank you so much for watching the Scabbard tonight. Do me a favor, give it a like, a share if you're on YouTube or anything like that. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you nothing. And it helps out the channel, gets more people watching. And thanks to Jasper Flair for interacting tonight. Appreciate all your comments, even though you're a Boston fan. I'm just kidding you, bro. But yeah, thanks for commenting and watching. I really appreciate it. And let's go Buffalo. Get the win tonight against the Penguins and start the weekend out right. Tomorrow night's game is 7 o'clock at New Jersey. New Jersey playing today. So both teams will be coming in on short rest. and we'll have this show, I believe, at 6 o'clock tomorrow night for the Devils versus the Sabres. Take care, everybody, and have a great night.